I went to college at Texas Tech University, and I was studying electrical engineering and computer science. And you know, at the time I was studying these degrees, IT really didn't exist, I guess you could say. I mean, it was in the mid-90s. You were starting to see some of this networking technology come to fruition in these different technologies, but primarily my computer science background was in programming, working with different programming languages. But during my stint as a student at the College of Engineering, I took a job to help pay for school as a network administrator for the College of Engineering, which basically meant that I went around and I plugged stuff in and installed operating systems. At that time, I think we were dealing with Novell networks and Windows for Workgroups and whatnot. Just about the time I was going to graduate, some individuals came out from California and they were looking for network engineers for a big project out in California. And because the school didn't have really an IT certification program, they went to the dean and asked the College of Engineering, are there any candidates that you think would be that we should interview? And my name came up, so I actually took the interview, and I already had a job lined up to go work at Halliburton as a double E. These folks came out and they said, well, we're looking for a network engineer. You have some experience in dealing with IT related stuff, so why don't you tell us all about yourself? Well, it turns out I ended up actually getting the job. It was a great opportunity. I mean, it was working at NASA. I was a network engineer at the Jet Propulsion Labs on contract. So it was just kind of a dream come true to be able to go do that. I spent about 4 or 5 years working there. I started off as a network administrator, learned a lot in that space because I didn't really know officially what network engineering was about and the technologies that were involved. So I learned a lot on the job from other engineers and just by trial and error as I was going through the job and working on my projects. In that interaction, I started working a lot with Cisco products and Cisco technologies and really got to know a lot of the account managers and the engineers that worked at Cisco Systems in the LA commercial region. And eventually built a strong enough relationship with those folks that they actually asked me to interview for a job as a systems engineer over at Cisco. And of course, that was like the mothership calling me home at that point. I just wanted to go and work at Cisco. So ended up going through about 7 or 8 different interviews with Cisco, and it was very difficult to leave JPL. I had a lot of opportunity there and was exposed to a lot of wonderful technology and scientists and engineers. It was really a nerd's heaven, you know, when you're dealing with these technologies and these landers and space exploration and all this technology. But Cisco was a great opportunity, so I went to work in the LA commercial space as a systems engineer on the sales side. So I was meeting customers, whiteboarding sessions with the customers. During that whole time while I was working at Cisco, of course, I learned more and more about Cisco technology and got involved in the Cisco certification process. That just became my career path. Focused on implementing emerging technologies with Cisco, unified communications and security technologies, routing and switching and infrastructure technologies. And then eventually, after a couple of years with Cisco, I decided that I'd rather be hands-on. I wanted to actually be out in the field and doing these implementations. I wanted to work directly with the customers and so on. So I eventually made the decision, a very, very difficult decision in my career, to leave a wonderful job at Cisco to start my own consulting business. But in 2001, I finally decided to do that. We were doing the implementations. We were meeting with Cisco, meeting with their sales engineers, and then I was the engineer engaged with the customer to do the actual implementation, the planning, the design, the deployment, the operations, and the maintenance of these particular networks. It was a great transition. It was kind of a natural transition because I didn't really step too far away from what I was doing at Cisco, but it really gave me the opportunity to get very much involved in the day-to-day operations, in designing just all kinds of networks with a lot of great new technology, emerging technologies that were coming out in kind of really the heyday of IT, right? The early 2000s, where technology was just kind of changing so rapidly and businesses were adopting all these new technologies so quickly. So that's kind of how I got into the IT space. It was really not ever planned. It's just kind of how my career just molded itself, just based on my passions and my interest. And that was really what made me excited about all this, because of the companies I was engaged with, the types of people that I surrounded myself with were just amazing engineers and scientists, and it's always driven me to be in this space, and that's why I'm so passionate about it today.